Hi everyone, today we are going to do the giveaway draw to see who has won this box of linen threads, and we're going to do a little bit more stitching with them as well and see what they will look like in cross stitch. So we've just had these linen threads into the shop. They're made by Anchor, and we have some box sets and we have single skeins as well. And in the last video that we did, we had a look at these threads and how to use them. If you haven't seen that video yet, you can check that up the corner here, because there's lots of technical information on how to use these threads in that. And we also did a giveaway. We gave away the Shoreline box of threads. Well, we're going to do that today. We'll see who's won that today. So there's a box of threads on its way to you, but I thought I would try a different box today and a different technique. So using the Shoreline threads, I stitched this little seashell design here. You can get this for free on our website. I'll put a link in the description below this video to that if you want to have a go at that design. So I thought we'd have a go with a different set of colours today. We're going to use the mountain set. They're very beautiful, and I'm going to do some cross stitch because it will work quite differently for cross stitch than it does for this kind of embroidery. So we're going to have a look at that and see how they work for cross stitch. So just before we get going on some cross stitch, I want to say thank you very much to those of you who have clicked the super thanks button this week to show your appreciation for the videos and that you're enjoying the videos. So thank you very much to Rebecca, Angela, Jeannie, Margaret, Shirley, Jackie and Tinaka. Thank you all very much. Your support is greatly appreciated. We are going to buy some more lights with it. So these ones are nice and bright and cool. I haven't got the other ones on today because it's really hot in this country, in Great Britain at the moment today, and they're too hot, so they're turned off today. So we are going to buy some more lights. So thank you very much. So if you do buy a box set of these threads, what you actually get in it is a free cross stitch design. You get a different design for each set of colours, and I've got one here. So this is the mountain sampler, and I'll show you it in a little bit more detail in a minute. And this actually comes in the box, so it's one printed piece of paper, and you've got your picture on the front and your colours that you need and the stitches and how many threads to use and the instructions there. And then you've actually got your counted chart on the back. But don't worry, if you haven't bought the box, you can still get hold of this design because you can download it for free from their website. I will put a link in the description below this video so you can download that design and you can print that off. And if you print it off yourself, it actually comes out on 4 pages, but you get nice bigger designs. So if you can't see so well, and even if you've got the box set, you could print it yourself, and the design is much bigger there, so you can print that off. So again, I will leave the link for that so you can have a go at this design if you want to. So what I thought I would do is, rather than stitch that design, because there's quite a lot of work in that, I would just take some of the elements of it and just try this thread on a few elements. And then I thought I'll make a little composition of it myself. I'll do something a little bit different with it. So I'm going to show you what I have done. So if I pull this one in under this camera, like so, you can see the design here, and I really love this little deer over here. So they've got 3 animals. There's a little rabbit, I think, mountain rabbit, a mountain goat and a mountain deer, and it's got some trees and some clouds and a little mountain hut and some different trees down here and an alphabet. So there's loads of different elements on there, and I thought I'd just take a few of them and put them together. So I really like the deer, and I thought, well, I'll put him in front of some of the trees and then we'll put some mountains in the background. So that was my plan. I thought I'll just do a little bit of it so I can show you the stitches. So let's have a little look at the stitching on this. I will do the draw afterwards, and then we'll come back and look at this when it's finished. So I will say now that I didn't do a lot of planning when it came to putting these elements together. I just thought I'm going to start with the deer and I'm going to work around him just to see what these threads did. If I did it again, I might try and maybe move things around a little bit more and get them in a different position. But it was quite good fun to try and put these elements together and overlap them, because you have to think about the colours a little bit more. So I'll just show you what I have done here. So I started with the deer. Here he is. I changed the colours as well. I thought he needed to stand out a bit and be a different colour. So I've done him in this sort of darker teal colour, and then I worked the tree next. So the tree is behind. So with cross stitch with the elements, you really want to do the things that are at the front first and then fill in the background afterwards. That means all the elements will fit together, if you like. And then I did the mountains, and then I put another tree in here, and then I am going to show you some stitching. I'm going to put a little cloud in the top here. We're going to do one of the clouds, but I just want to show you this little detail here, because I thought, oh, the tree needs some pine cones, because I need to get my beads out. So I got some beads, pine cone coloured beads out, and I put some little pine cones on the tree. So we'll do a few pine cones and we'll do a cloud, and we'll talk about how to use this thread if you'll want to do cross stitch with it. So I'm going to do my clouds in this colour here. This is a beautiful pale blue. It's colour 29. Haven't used it yet, so nice to try another colour. Now, the one thing I will say with this, having done some cross stitch on it, the thread has obviously got the holes of the fabric. So this is a 14 count Ada fabric that I'm working on, and you've got the holes to go through, and it was a little bit easier to stitch with than it was on the linen. But don't be fooled into thinking you can get away with a longer length. You can't. You still need a nice short length for this, because it did wear going through the hole. So fingertip, and I'm not quite going to my elbow there, going to about there. That length is good, no longer than that, because by the time you've been through the fabric a few times, it does start to wear the thread, and the thread gets a bit fluffy. So you still need nice short lengths. That's really important with this. And the pattern actually says to use 3 strands on this count fabric, and I did find that 3 strands was a little bit mean, to be honest. It didn't cover so well with the deer, and I've actually gone over that with another 2 strands as well, so that's got 5 strands in it. And I don't know if there's enough thread to do the whole thing if you do that, but I would say maybe the darker colours, just consider an extra strand in there so you get better coverage. So I'm going to use 4 threads, I think, for this. So all I'm going to do is take out 2. So I'm going to separate the ends. They separate nice and easily. There's 6 strands in each one here, and just pull that straight up. Save that for later. That doesn't get all tangled then. And I'm going to just keep my 4 threads together. I've got a tapestry needle. Just go up a needle size as well to maybe what you would normally use. I've got a tapestry 24. We'll see how we get on with that. If it feels like it's wearing a bit, I can go up to a 22. Make the needle make the hole, so it doesn't wear the thread. So the thread's not making the hole and wearing the thread. The needle should make that hole. Then I'm just going to put my little starting knot in the end. Like so. And I'm going to work my little cloud over the tallest mountain here. And what I ended up doing with the mountains is I started counting it from the pattern, and then I just started making my mountains up as I went to suit my design. So I kind of went off plan a little bit, but that's okay. I might do that with the cloud as well. So I'm going to start it in the middle. I've got the little design in front of me here. So I'm going to put my knot over there, come up underneath. I'm just going to start about there and put 1 stitch in. With cross stitch, you should always try and go the same way as you can. So always make sure the top one is going in the same direction. And I'm just going to stitch a few. Now, as I said before, because you've got the holes to go through, it stitches a little bit more smoothly with cross stitch than it did on the just on the plain linen fabric that I used. So it goes in quite nicely, so don't pull it too tight, but again, just listen for it, listen to what it's doing. If you can hear the thread going through, you need to change your needle size to a bigger size. The needle needs to make the hole. If you can hear it, the thread is doing it. Let's come down there 1. So do have a listen out for what it's doing. Your thread will tell you what it needs. And as I did a little bit more, I did find it did get a little bit fluffy, so just go gently with it. Listen to what it's doing. If you feel that it's getting a bit fluffy, or it doesn't feel, or you can hear it, I suppose, because it does have some slubs in it. This one is okay, actually. I can't see any in this one, so just look out for those slubs, because you will feel those as they go through the fabric. So the thread will still wear, so you just need to be aware of that, but it does stitch really nice and smoothly, and it's got these beautiful colours, these natural colours with these vegetable based dyes that they use for these threads, and you can do some really beautiful designs with it. So I've come to the end of that first piece of thread that I had, the first length there, and you can just feel now it is getting a little bit fluffy, so that length was just about right. So don't go any longer than that if you're stitching cross stitch with this. It needs changing now anyway at the end of this thread. So I'm going to take it through to the back, and I'm going to weave it underneath those cross stitches to finish it off, and then I'm going to start a new thread, and I'm actually going to put the whole shape of the cloud in first, so I can just count that in one go, and then I can fill the cloud in afterwards. So I'm going to do a little bit more stitching on the cloud. So let's go and see who has won the box of Shoreline threads. I want to thank everybody very much for joining in the giveaway. You left some really wonderful comments, lots of memories about living by the seaside, or you still live by the seaside, or it's your favourite place. And it was really nice to read those. We always love reading your comments. So thank you to everybody who joined in. So let's go to our random winner generator and see who has won the box of Shoreline threads. So well done to Agenia Milner, you have won the Shoreline threads. Don't forget to check your comments so that we can get in touch with you and find out where to send your threads to. So I've stitched most of the cloud now, but I just wanted to talk about the number of strands, because as I mentioned, it does say in the pattern use 3 strands, and I found that didn't cover too great. But if you did want to make your threads go a little bit further, you don't want to use 4 and use up more thread, there's a couple of things you can do. So the first thing you can do, if you're going to use 3 strands, just loosen off on your tension on your stitches a little bit. Just make your tension a little bit looser. The thread sits on top of the fabric. If you pull it tight, it kind of sucks into the fabric and pulls the fabric tight, and you can see the fabric through the stitches. So nice relaxed on your tension, and those fibres will sit on top of the fabric. And the other thing you can do is you could put a strand of something else in with your 3 strands. So I've got 3 strands here of the blue that I've been using, and I'm going to add in one of these. So this is a DMC Light Effects thread. It's a synthetic one. It's got a little bit of sparkle, so it's the same colour blue but with a bit of sparkle in it. I'm going to put 1 strand of that in with it. You could add anything you like to it. It doesn't have to be this. This is quite a little bit thicker, but I think it's okay. So I'm going to put that together. So I've got my 4 strands now, but I've got 3 linen and I've got 1 of something else. So we'll see how well it stitches with a different kind of thread in it. And it's going to be quite subtle. There's only 1 strand with the sparkle in it. So it's not going to show up loads, but it's just a way to make your thread go a little bit further if you want to. I'm just going to finish these stitches across here. I've left some space for those, and I've just done a couple of stitches in this, and it's actually stitching quite nicely with an extra one in it. I wasn't sure how the linen would cope with a synthetic thread, because they're very different kind of threads to put together, but it seems to be doing pretty well. You could take your needle up a size. It's just starting to hear that going through the fabric, so it might be a good idea just to change up, but I've got a few stitches left, so I'm going to just keep going. That's a bit better. Do that now. So let's just go across here. If you're mixing threads, you might want to use a laying tool. For some description, this is a malure. So just be aware of those threads and how they work together. Might work at different tensions, they might stretch differently, so you can use a laying tool if you want to, just to help guide your threads down. Good idea if you're mixing your threads, just to be in control of them. So a couple more stitches. Last 3 on the top, and I'm going to call that cloud done. And I can just see a little bit of that sparkle actually, just a nice little extra addition. So it's nice to have a little bit of experiment. You don't just have to use threads on your own. You can put something else with them, but do just try them out first and see how they work and see if they're okay. So that's the last bit of that. I shall finish that off in a moment. Just going to cut the knot off. There's my finished cloud, and then I'm just going to pop down here and put some pine cones on. So I'm going to use a different thread for this. The beads need to be held on really securely, so I'm going to use just some normal sewn cotton. It's really strong, and it's quite fine as well, and it won't go fluffy and hasn't got any slubs in it. And I've just doubled that over, so I'm going to use that in the same colour as the beads. Now the pine cones usually sit nearer the edge of the branches, so I'm going to put them nearer to the edge, and I've just got some glass beads here. These are Mill Hill glass seed beads. Put those on, but whatever you've got in your stash. And I just like to add these little details on. Mix the textures up a bit, mix your materials up a little bit. You don't just have to stick to the same thing and I've doubled the thread, so they're going to be quite secure. Just put my bead on, take it all the way to the bottom of the thread, lie it down, go down the other side of the bead, and it won't roll around. And we're just going to put a few of those on. I think it's a nice extra addition. So you can have fun creating your own designs. You don't just have to follow the pattern. And I didn't know I was going to put pine cones on till near the end. I thought, oh, let's put some little details on the trees. Last little one in place. I think I'm going to call that enough. That's quite a lot of pine cones. I can just weave that thread underneath the stitches, the cross stitches on the back. So that is my finished little mountain scene. So I've used these beautiful linen threads and some extra DMC light effects and some beads just to finish off my piece. So I did find stitching in the cross stitch a little bit easier than stitching on the linen. That hole just makes it a little bit more easy to get the thread through without wearing it. But just do remember, please, nice short lengths for it. That will make your life much easier. It won't go all fluffy. Just go up one needle size if you need to, and just try a little bit first just to get the feel of it. It doesn't feel like a stranded cotton or a stranded floss. It does feel different, so don't expect it to feel the same. So just try a little bit to make sure that you're comfortable with how it feels. So if you'd like to know more details about using this thread, do check out the video that I mentioned earlier up here in the corner. Lots of information on there. These threads are available on our website. We've got 36 different colours, and we've got all 3 box sets as well. Do go and check them out on the website. If you've enjoyed the video, do give it a thumbs up, everybody. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.